Larne on such a dry day. I'd like to welcome you all and thank you all for taking the time and trouble to come. The following speech by Sir Edward Carson was delivered on July the 11th, 1914, some 12 weeks from the illustrious success of Operation Lion. It was given during a review of the Larne, Ballyclare and Carrickfergus battalions of the Central London Regiment, Ulster Volunteer Force. I'm sure you'll agree that the words and sentiments expressed remain pertinent today. It offers us the then leader of unionism's reflections on the significance of the gun running, spoken to the men so directly involved in its success. But it also invokes the message that this country has consistently and can to this very day identify with the message of those men 100 years ago. Looking back 100 years from the gun running, can I introduce Sir Edward Carson to reflect upon what was, in his words, the lesson of Larne.
Officers and men of the Central Antrim Regiment, at the commencement of my remarks, I'm sure you would wish me to give you thanks for the beautiful colours which have been presented to your three battalions. Those colours have been entrusted to you, firm in the knowledge that in your hands all that they represent is safe. You will value them and you will take care that they will never be allowed to be sullied with dishonour. And I pity the man or the body of men who would try to hold them down so long as they remain in your firm grip of your hands. Now, officers and men, I am very proud to be in Larne today and to see such a magnificent turnout. Larne will forever hold a place in the history of this great movement. The exploits of the gun running will live in the history long after we have passed away. I am a grateful man to you for the part, the worthy and noble part you played that night. And your country is grateful also to that end. Now I should like to say this, that proud as I am of the achievement of that night, I do not think that what I may call the lesson of Larne should be lost in future action. The lesson of that night had taught you what discipline means. It has taught you what can be achieved, not by any rowdy spirit or rowdy element, but by careful thought, by plans, and by absolute obedience to orders. That is the lesson of Larne. And that is the lesson that you yourselves learnt, and which you are now teaching others. Let me say, I think there was one further lesson you learnt. It was that you might have confidence in your leaders, and achievement such as was effected that night, as you will already understand, took a great deal of thought and a great deal of consideration. Well now, as regards that further lesson in this grave and perilous moment, and in my opinion, how grave and perilous it cannot be exaggerated, keep in your minds that further lesson and trust your leaders. I cannot pass from this subject of the gun run at Larne without publicly thanking Major Crawford, who is here for the great part he took from start to finish that noble achievement. In front of me there is a signal of Mount Joy, which he has brought back here, and which no doubt will always be valued, a trophy of Ulster. And now, men, let me say a few words as regards the immediate future. I think I would be a false leader if I were to cry peace when I saw no evidence of peace. For my own part, understanding as I hope I do the political situation and all that has been going on in the political world, with which I hope you concern yourselves very little, I am bound to tell you that see no hope of peace. I see nothing at present moment but darkness and shadow, and although darkness and shadow may pass away, still we must do all that darkness and those shadows come on. We must be ready. In my opinion, the great climax and the crisis of our fate and the fate of our country cannot be delayed for many weeks. And in my opinion, unless something happens, the evidence of which one fails to see at the present moment, the time cannot be far delayed when we will have once more to assert the manhood of our race and to show the government and all whom it may concern that we are unconquerable and that we will never submit to home rule. I do not say that in any spirit of boasting. I say it in all humility, and with the sense of the responsibility that devolves upon me as your leader. And I pray night and day that it may be peace. But if peace, only peace with honour. If it cannot be peace with honour, it must be war with honour, because there is no alternative. And whilst I shall long and devoutly pray for peace till the end, I tell you, men, that you must be prepared at any sacrifice in the immediate future, once more to act upon the call of your leaders and be prepared to turn out for whatever fate awaits us. We do not want that to come, but we will not shirk if it becomes necessary. And let me say this: the discipline, good conduct and self-control of the Ulster Volunteers is the admiration of the whole United Kingdom. Friend and foe alike testify to the behaviour of our men. We have not, I think, even in the slightest respect, never sullied the honour which we hold so dear. And let us go on as we have begun, to the end with a clean record. You have not been organised and trained for the purpose of fighting your fellow citizens who may differ from you in creed or in politics. It is not against them that you have been organised. We look upon them as fellow countrymen and fellow citizens, and we wish for them every privilege and every safeguard of civil and religious liberty that we ourselves enjoy. We are not out for aggression. We are out for defence only. We are organised not to fight those who differ from us. We are organised to fight against those who would take from us the priceless heritage of the laws as administered by the Imperial Parliament. We tell them in return that they have no right to turn us out of an Imperial Parliament as we as yet ready to obey. That is not the making of law, it is the exercise of tyranny, and Ulster men have never and will never submit to tyranny of any kind or of any description whatsoever. And now, in these difficult times ahead, let man bear himself in the first place with calm, courage and steely determination. Let him remember that the eyes of the United Kingdom are looking to him to see whether he is prepared to carry out any action that he and those who speak for him have so often said. Remember that the eyes of the kingdom are turning upon you to see what you have in discipline and your self-control has done. And remember, we must have no act committed against any man's property which would sully the great name you've already attained. And now, men, in conclusion, I thank you once again for coming out. Heaven knows my heart goes out to you as I see you standing there ready, and I believe prepared to make any sacrifice on behalf of our great cause. I can promise you from my heart and from my conscience, but to the very best of my ability, that come what may, I will be with you to the very end. We will win, or we will go down together, but we will have no drawing back. And the remarkable thing is that since the day the Covenant was signed, I have not yet heard one single man who wished to draw back from the solemn act of that day when he signed his Covenant. For through it all, we have no fear. We know our cause is just. We know it is unselfish. It is not a cause of aggression or a cause of offence. It is simply the cause of liberty. And the cause of liberty was won for you by your ancestors hundreds of years ago. And that cause, unsullied, you will keep and sustain for those who come after. God bless you all. For God and Ulster.
Thank you. These words still resonate down through the years and are still as relevant today as they were 100 years ago. I'd like to introduce now Quincy Duggan, who will provide a historical context of the actual Operation Larne.
The depth of feeling against Home Rule in Ulster
that had delivered the Ulster Covenant in September 1912, by April 1914 had delivered an army. For all intensive purposes, the Ulster Volunteer Force of 1914 was indeed a fully functioning army. At its height, its infantry consisted of some 20 regiments subdivided into 70 battalions, with 90,000 foot soldiers on the rolls. It was administered by a full-time HQ staff consisting of seasoned and highly respected professional soldiers, and was supported by a network of specialised units. Its Ulster Signalling and Dispatch Riding Corps, Motor Car Corps, and Ulster Volunteer Medical and Nursing Corps, each were highly organised and innovative within their own fields. The Ulster Special Service Force, the Young Citizen Volunteers, and the Enniskillen Horse added further to the capability of the army. The force could draw on a mass and a very enthusiastic membership. Indeed, a membership that for the most part consisted of people giving up their own time after their working day to drill, and with many having to travel substantial distance by foot just to participate. But in order to maintain that enthusiasm and dedication, and indeed be fully respected as a capable army, there was one area that the UVF had to address: armament. In the early 20th century, a significant number of houses in Ulster each could boast at least one type of firearm. However, a wide range of arms also meant a wide range of ammunition, and in the event of any major confrontation would lead to what one commentator referred to as a logistical nightmare. With the possibility of the Third Home Rule Bill being passed, the purchase of arms had begun to increase continually from 1912, but mostly at a small scale. Across Ulster, several prominent unionists were devising and implementing their own schemes of gun running. By early 1914, there were many within the unionist leadership that realised that they were still being approached by the government and by many within Irish nationalism as engaged in what John Redmond defined as being a gigantic game of bluff. The activities of one Fred Crawford, his enthusiasm and his ideas suddenly were finding significantly more sympathy and support. In January 1914, Crawford began his plans for the mass importation of arms at the direct request of Sir Edward Carson and James Craig. Shortly afterwards, he impressed upon Carson directly at a private meeting the scale of what he was about to implement. In Carson's memoirs, he recalled that Carson had said with clenched fist raised that "I will see you through this business should I have to go to prison for it." The arms were purchased, some 216 tons of ammunition and weaponry, and transferred to a steamer, the SS Fanny, in Danish waters. At one stage the cargo appeared to be lost when the ship was boarded and they were discovered by Danish customs, the officials actually believing they were destined for Iceland. Bad weather delaying the authorities before they seized the armoury gave Crawford a tremendous stroke of luck and an opportunity to flee the scene. As the SS Fanny made its way to Ulster, it had two name changes to help protect her identity. The names of two of Fred Crawford's daughters, Bethia and Doreen. Cold feet by some within the unionist leadership had appeared by now, and an instruction was sent to the vessel to return to the Baltic and cruise for 3 months and await further instruction. Crawford acted angrily, insisting that they would be landed should they have to be grounded on the County Down coast and the Down volunteers mobilised. His persistence and commitment carried the day,
and a plan was devised to land the cargo. In Glasgow, the SS Clyde Valley became the newest part of the gun running fleet. Near the Wexford coast, the consignment was transferred to the new vessel, now renamed the Mountjoy II, after the original Mountjoy that had broken the boom at the Siege of Derry, and the final stages of the plan initiated. On the morning of the 24th of April 1914, mobilisation orders were issued to almost the entire Ulster Volunteer Force across the province. The Larne volunteers were unaware of the pivotal role they were to have in the proceedings. After instructions to mobilise at 7:30 p.m, they set about securing the entire town, beginning to realise that they were witnessing something of mammoth proportions. At 11 p.m, the Mountjoy II docked and the hard work began. Simultaneously, weapons were moved to hundreds of waiting motor vehicles and two smaller steamers, the Innismurray and the Roma. The first charged to leave the harbour with their goods were the Motor Car Corps squadrons of County Tyrone, who were all on their way by midnight. It was to be 4 a.m, however, before the last rifle left the area. In Bangor, the 1st Battalion of the North Down Volunteers commandeered the entire town, waiting for the Mountjoy II to visit. It had left Larne at 2:30 a.m. and appeared in Bangor Quay at 4:25 a.m. Here, 40 tons of arms and ammunition were unloaded and spirited away in motor vehicles across the length of County Down. The Innismurray landed in Donaghadee at 6 a.m, where the North Down 2nd Battalion were ready and waiting. In Belfast, a decoy ship had been deployed in the harbour, along with a waiting lorry to distract the authorities. The SS Balmerino performed its role to a T, allowing the SS Roma to land in the yard of Workman and Clark and unload 70 bundles of rifles unmolested. The night passed off as planned. Hundreds of tons of weaponry were unloaded and transported across the entire province almost without incident. The routes of vehicles were kept clear by volunteer patrols that crossed the borders of almost every Ulster county, while full records of proceedings were kept by clerks who took details and totals of the entire cargo and its destinations. In the early morning of Saturday the 25th April, Edward Carson received a telegram at his London residence at 5 Eaton Place. It consisted of one word, Lion. The code name for the operation told Carson that all was well. In his autobiography, Larne man George Buchanan wrote of the operation that, from this night, the rebellion passes beyond the stage of play acting. The night of the 24th of April and the morning of the 25th of April 1914 were the first wide-scale demonstration of the discipline that the leaders of the UVF had sought to achieve, and was the ultimate indication to the British government and the nationalist leaders that the UVF was in no way a pretend army. Prime Minister Asquith, on the Monday following the gun running, described the proceedings as a grave and unprecedented outrage. But from this moment on, both he and even the previously sceptical militant nationalist leaders treated the UVF with a new level of respect.
Thanks very much. Just a call upon the local MP, Tommy Wilson, Bruce Duncan, if you want to care to say a few words.